Switzerland's not a good example because, I mean, Switzerland's sitting on a river of money and they just siphon out the money. So, and they've been doing that for many hundreds of years. So they're pretty much immune to everything. So this sort of social...
She doesn't think so, and this is a big change for them.
Well, I mean, the glaciers are going to melt and so forth. I mean, the best model, I was talking to paleolimnologists the other day, and the best model is 45 million years ago when there were no ice caps and so forth. I'm actually very optimistic about the survival in terms of material well-being of the human race. I don't like we will become more like Singapore and New York or someplace like that. And mental health statistics are actually very good in these big cities. But if you then put that, so there's no worry about Switzerland because Switzerland is actually a garden and they have enough money to actually irrigate or do whatever they want. They may lose a little bit of tourism or something like that, but it's not going to really impact people's lives. But what's going to happen, like if you take a country like Australia, you can't start irrigating the bush. So that all that ecosystem's going. So there's a very deep and interesting question for people generally. Do we need nature? Or was it just a gift from God, if you're religious or part of evolution, for us to be used to go to the next step of evolution? And by that I mean that, as I said, statistics of health and mental well-being and physical well-being are very good in big cities. So maybe we were just on an evolutionary path that now we're at the next level.
Hormone balance.
Yeah. And basically not, I mean, most people don't really know where the milk comes from or what animals. And actually I've been looking quite hard to get some sociological studies which show that people need nature. And like your Swiss president says that, you know, we need these kind of, but in Switzerland, I mean, people come back and say Switzerland's a beautiful place. Well, it is, but on the other hand, there's nothing natural there. Whereas in Australia and South America and so forth, I mean, the ecosystem is self-sustaining. In Switzerland, it needs attention. So I don't see any shortage of a nice rose bush, a dog and a cat and a red roof. I don't see any, you know, danger of that ever disappearing. I do see a danger of disappearing of, first of all, agricultural production because of these fungi that come around. And then there are many other hidden things that have come along with climate change because men, not women, but men basically have this tendency when there's a problem they want to fix it. They have a headache, you take an aspirin. And there are lots of technologies, I'm not sure whether you've become familiar with them, but like nanoparticles and other things. I mean, they're being introduced at a tremendous rate. So there's one nanoparticle, for instance, for it's a very good antibiotic, but they last for a long time. They're not degradable. So you take an antibiotic and pretty soon everybody around you is going to be taking that antibiotic. We don't seem to be learning from the thing, and there are good reasons for that. I plotted recently a graph where I looked at the rate of change and compared it with evolutionary change. How long does it take to add 10 million people to the world? How long does it take for culture to change, et cetera, et cetera? About 1 million years ago, that time scale was about 100,000 years, which is the Ice Age time scale. Also, it's a bit short for genetic change, but it's comparable. That's gone down to 10 to the minus 7. So we're now in tens of years. So that means that really genetically, we always react in the way man used to react. It was an unbounded world, and we had to fight. Watch the American politics. I mean, basically you have a problem and you use force. As an Aborigine, you know, as I said in my talk, as an Aborigine told me the other day that when the white person sees a problem that he or she doesn't understand, you either dominate it, you conquer it, or you kill it. Whereas an indigenous person and Aborigines actually have a lot to offer for us because they blended in and they lived with nature. Their attitude is, I don't understand it, it must be important, it must be sacred, I must respect it. It's a total contrast. The other thing in Aboriginal culture is that when a new idea came up, it went to the elders, and if the elders could find in the history of their thing the same idea, it would be accepted. Western culture, or white culture, is if that idea is an old idea, we don't accept it, we want a new idea.